Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of At the Top of Her Game. My name is Bonnie Raynor, and in this series, we profile some of the highest profile female athletes WA and Australia has ever seen. Now, if we kickstarted today's episode by listing all of Jayme Harken's footy accolades, we'd actually run out of time to ask her anything. To name just a few, she's a two-time Dhaka Kerr medallist, the WAFLW's highest individual accolade, a reigning premier going back-to-back with her Claremont Tigers, and of course a former West Coast Eagle after making her AFLW debut last season. Jayme, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. That was really uncomfortable, but thanks for having me.
Honestly, and as you know, I've missed about 90% of what you've achieved. So I'm so excited to dive into it today because, your CV is just incredible and speaks for itself. Now, a few short months ago, you had a thrilling 1-point grand final triumph over the Swan Districts. How long did those celebrations last?
Yeah, I think it was before the celebrations, it was a bit of relief. That was a pretty full-on game, and I think very much a game of two halves and one that we're definitely hanging on towards the end. But celebrating was the best part after we finally got to reflect on what actually just happened. I just remember when the siren went, I was like shocked and completely different to the year before. I was just like, how did that happen type thing? But no, the celebrating with the girls has been incredible and incredible group. And we're rolling into the new season. So it's business now. But it was so fun.
Comes around so quickly, doesn't it? Now, what an absolute classic to be involved in. Of course, a missed opportunity goes begging for them to pull off an incredible fight back victory in the final minute in very tough conditions, no less. Can you take us through what was happening in your head in those dying minutes with that shot on goal?
Yeah, I reckon it's funny in games like that, like the fourth quarter almost, it's you remember every single moment. And I just remember when Mac Webb, when she kicked it along the ground for it was paid deliberate. I just remember going, there's no way they're not going to pay that for a shot on goal. And then I see Em Maguire pick up the ball, and I reckon anyone on the field, either both teams, if I was going to pick someone to have a crack at that shot, it would be her. And it's funny because obviously a couple of weeks before in the prelim against Subi, not the same scenario, but still a couple of shots late that they've missed. And you couldn't think like third time lucky, because if she'd obviously scored that, it would be into time on. I don't know if that was the other thing going through my mind. I don't know if I was ready to play time on in a grand final after doing it a couple of weeks before. And then the other thing crossing my mind was obviously if she kicks this, like the chances that we get end to end with the time left in the game was pretty hard. So, yeah, every thought possible goes through your mind at that stage. And then when she missed, like, you're just processing that, but it's just like, how long can we repeat stoppages and stop them scoring? And when is this goddamn siren going to go? That was the biggest thing.
It would have felt like the longest minute of your life, I bet. I have no idea why you weren't up for extra time, because it's not like you did much or anything. Like just the 20 disposals, like a lazy 18 tackles, if you don't mind, 4 clearances and 3 inside 50s. Best on ground only for the second year running. That's something I didn't cover up off the top. How special was it to deliver yet another one of your trademark performances on the biggest stage?
Look, it wasn't something, obviously, like, super I guess, privileged to receive that award on the day. But I think the biggest thing going into the game, I remember, like, I've played in a fair few grand finals, and my biggest thing for the day was just to play my role, and I think I did that, and hopefully did that. But it just became one of those super contested games. I don't normally lay that many tackles either, so it was very clear. It was a pretty contested game, and a bit slippery as well with the conditions too. It was super tough, and they have some midfield bulls that we had to stop. And I think it came down to that. I'm pretty sure Jamie Henry had even more tackles. So it was just the nature of the game that day. And it wasn't one for a huge amount of disposals and more tackles, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I have to start calling you Turbo in those conditions. With nearly 3,000 fans watching on such a special day, with 2 flags in 2 years since your move from the Lions to the Tigers, it's easy to say it now that it was invigorating. a career enhancing or maybe even a career saving move. But what was it that led you to change clubs?
Yeah, and I'll start off the bat by saying, I started my career at Subiaco and owe a lot to the club for my development there. I spent 5 years there. In those 5 years, I was lucky enough to be in two grand finals as well. Just didn't win one, and I think I've only missed one finals series with them. So safe to say, pretty successful club as well. And the people I met from the start, I came from netball, so I was actually playing Wannell at the same time as playing WAFL for 2 years in my first 2 seasons. But I just fell in love with footy, and I always knew I loved footy, and it was something I always wanted to take up. And it was around the time of AFLW starting that I started playing footy because I saw the opportunity. I'm from the country and moved to Perth and saw the opportunity. I was like, I want to have a crack. I've watched it all my life, been the biggest fan, seen my brother through juniors, and I was like, I really want to play footy. And I'd reached out to a couple of clubs. Swan Districts was one of them because I lived near there, and the other club was Coastal Titans. And that's when obviously they moved to Subiaco the year I started. And just the way they welcomed me with open arms and said, we want to accommodate your two sports at that time. And the people there, helped me confirm it was the right decision and that I love footy. And, playing with the likes of, Hayley Miller, Courtney Stubbs at the time, Lara Filicamo, all in the midfield, obviously all played AFLW too, learning from them in the midfield. And then I played every position. I went from the midfield to playing mid forward, and then I was a backliner for a couple of years. And that just helped with my development so much. So, have everything to thank for Subi. And I think after 5 years, it was just a bit of a scenery change that I needed just to refresh my footy a bit. I'd got to a point of development where I was like, I think I'm playing pretty good footy, and I think I need to challenge myself on another level again. Claremont was, I guess, my partner's at Claremont, but that wasn't part of the decision. Like, I wasn't moving to go play with her. I was picking the best club for me, and I think at that time, obviously they were pretty successful that year, so it looked pretty well that way. But I think it was just the nearest club. I knew some people. I'd had conversations with people just to make sure that was the right decision for me. And it turned out, it worked for the best, and love being at Claremont.
3 flags in 4 years now, but in your first year missing out, did you think that you'd miss the premiership window or not really?
When I played in 23, so that was my first year at Claremont, and we lost, I was like, is it me? Like, that was my third grand final, and I said, they've just won one the year before, I've missed out on that, and then we lost. It did cross my mind. I'm not the most confident person in myself. I doubt myself a fair bit, so when that happened, it was pretty tough. But then you quickly move on, and you have those support networks around you to go, actually, like, what are the things that to overcome that and make sure that I don't let that happen again, or we don't let that happen again as a team, because it's not on me, it's a team effort, and how can we make sure that doesn't happen again? And we really had conversations about embracing being the hunted, which was going to be the case. Obviously East Freo as well were one of them, but I think obviously we went through the year undefeated to that point. I think it was that, we had to embrace that title, that we're going to be hunted again, not just by East Freo, by all 6-7 other clubs, and that mindset really has held us well the last few years as well.
Would have required such mental strength to sort of go through those hardships and the heartbreak and then to come and taste that premiership success in your first year there and then double the dose. How much more satisfying was that after missing out in your first year?
Yeah, it just reminded you that everything we're doing was right. The conversations we had, the moment, as I said, day one of pre-season, it was the elephant on the back, and we had to talk about it. And we did that again at the start of this pre-season as well. So we went and won one, and it's like, well, are we going to settle for, we've won one and get comfortable, or are we going to challenge each other again? And You hear it with AFL and AFLW clubs as well. They have that conversation, and it's never settling for like we've done it and that's it. I think they're the most successful clubs is when that hunger continues, and it's everyone's self-motivated and then team motivated at the same time. Like it's not one or the other, it's both. And have faith in all our players that they that's where they want to be, and we continue those conversations throughout the year because, as you said, that self-doubt comes in. People go through different circumstances, injury, non-selection, where you want to bring everyone along for the ride because we're just as good as our 35th player as we are the number one player type thing, and we need to grow them all the way through. So it was a lot of conversation around that. I don't know if I answered the question, but
No, you absolutely did. And the mental game is equally as important as the physical game these days, isn't it? If not more so.
Yeah.
Now, with all you've achieved at WAFLW level, it would have been a dream come true to represent the Eagles in the AFLW last season, the team you grew up supporting. What do you remember from your round 2 debut against the Bombers?
Oh, yeah, it was a blur. I reckon that was my 4th week at the club, or 3rd week, one of them. I think 3rd week. It was a really exciting time. It was sort of a take 2 for me because I actually was announced to play round 1 and then injured myself a day and a half beforehand, which was
Lions debuted, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind. It's pretty funny how it happened in hindsight. I was warming up and clipped my laces and rolled my ankle on my own laces. So, that was a lot.
Talk about the highs and lows, hey?
Yeah. So got to do it all again. There was cut off from the video from the first announcement because obviously I wasn't playing, and then got to do it again, which was pretty special. And I got told as well that I'd line up against Maddie Prespakis in my first game. Like things like that were just huge. And obviously we didn't get the win, but yeah, simple. Obviously we didn't get the win, but the way the girls got around me in the lead up from the moment I walked into the club, and then for my debut game, it took a while before I got my first and only win actually. For me personally, obviously the girls got the 5 that year, but it was pretty special, and having all my friends and family come at the start. Haven't experienced anything like that before.
The flags you've won across your career, the individual accolades that I could recap. Where does your AFL debut and your time with the AFLW debut, your time with the Eagles rank in terms of career highlights?
Yeah, I'm a pretty hungry person that always wants to grow and develop and challenge myself. So it's got to be right at the top. It was still a whirlwind, like obviously going through. Quickly trying to come into the team. And I knew most of the girls. I'd been a trainer on a fair few times, and obviously a lot of them local girls too, and played against and with them. It's right up there with the whole journey. I think I see it as a journey there, not one high moment or one low moment. I think it's all of it together. I think I learnt the most about myself and my football with my time there, so that's why it ranks right up there. Obviously, the highs of a premiership are probably number 1, but I think playing AFLW, and pretty proud of it, ranks right up there with number 1 as well. So I guess it's an equal first.
Yeah, as it should be. That's interesting to hear you say you feel you learnt the most about your football in that environment. Why do you think that was? Do you think it's because it is a top-level environment and they're really pushing you to that higher standard of training, preparation, review, analysis? Is it because of the standard, or was it because of a particular mentor or playing under Daisy in her first season?
Yeah, I think all of the above. I think, but the biggest one I reflect on is there were a lot of challenges that I hadn't experienced yet. Well, I have experienced, but in other sports. But at that level, those challenges that I faced, I think working through those and learning from those has been obviously being in and out of the side all the time was something new to me in football, and which I'm so grateful for, and I know players experience that all the time, but I played in 2018, and I think I've played every game in my 8 seasons, bar two up until this year. I got injured this year. So I've been pretty blessed from that perspective. So the challenges are working through that. But I think from that I learn, to how to have those conversations to get myself back to my best. But also, as you mentioned, the high performance environment is something that I always want to be in, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily easy. The challenges of holding yourself to that standard, and asking the questions, and just understanding that, like sometimes there are people ahead of you that will be selected before you, and what are the things you can work to get yourself up to there. So, and you're right, being in an environment with Daisy was just like another level, and I wish I had longer, because that's the one thing that was, I guess, tough, is because I didn't get that time to form that relationship before I started playing, so it was just in the playing. But yeah, no, it was super experience under Daisy, and just seeing what she's doing with the girls now is awesome to see from the outside now.
Because with the highs and lows of professional sport come the inevitable lows, and it must have been a really tough call to receive about not receiving a contract for this year. Can you talk us through how that kind of played out, and how you, I guess, gained closure, given that it was so short and sweet?
Yeah, it was in the exit meeting, and I think the best thing about it was that they told me up front. It wasn't go through all the things you did well and didn't well, and do well and then tell you. Like, that would have been pretty tough, but they were pretty matter of fact about it, which is, I guess, tough to cop at the time. But I'm also, like, the bonus about being an older player is that I was pretty aware of where I was at and where the club was at. So I sort of came in with the, like, take it as it is type thing. But the feedback I got from it, there were positives to take away as well. I would have loved, and it still hurts today, but I know that I did everything that I could have done to stay on the list, and they were very clear with the things for me as well. So as tough of a period as it is, I reckon mine was a pretty smooth process in that, and I knew that I could go back to Claremont and play my best footy and continue doing what I do, but take those things that I got from the program and bring them back with me. Yeah.
Well, you would have had so much to take back to Tigerland. What do you think you took from the Eagles environment, and what did you apply for your leadership role at Claremont?
Yeah, well, as mentioned, obviously, like, I went through being in and out of the side, and that was a big one for me, because I'd had conversations as a leader at Claremont with players before, but I don't think I'd ever had the understanding of actually being in that, like, until you've experienced it. It's something really different. So I think that was a big one for me. I feel like I could connect with the players on another level with that. But in terms of things I learned, like, just tactical pieces, I guess, seeing the game on another level again. And I think we're really lucky at Claremont with Jack, and he's always thinking footy 24/7 and what we can do better and things like that. But I think just bringing those things back and educating the younger girls was a huge one. But also for my own personal game, it was these are the things I can do to take my game to another level, but also lift the standard of within my team and within the WAFLW has been a huge opportunity too. So, I feel like there were little things in my game this year that I wouldn't have ever spent time on or paid attention to, and I think that's what I learned so much from Eagles as well.
Yeah, such a great perspective to take with you, and that's awesome. And just going full circle, I guess we've covered your time at the top, we've covered your return to WAFLW. But let's go back to the beginning and where it all started. What were the opportunities like when you first got into footy?
Yeah, so mine's like a unique one, but I probably think common for girls my age. So I'm 29 now, and I started playing footy at 22. So when kids these days, and I coach and they say, "Oh, what junior club did you come through?" It's like, "Oh, well, I didn't." That didn't happen for me. From the start, I guess I grew up country. So I grew up Northern Way in the Wheatbelt. So when Emma Driscoll talks about Northern, it's cool to connect on that level. I lived outside of Northern, but so I grew up obviously like every other kid playing millions of sports, and started to specialise in a couple, and netball was a big one. So I played state league netball, and a really unique one which I don't share often is I did karate as well, at international and national level. I just the priorities changed a lot quickly. But yeah, I moved to Perth when I was 15 from the farm. So I was on a farm and moved to Perth when I was 15. But I think I didn't do Auskick. There was Auskick for kids, but that was it. Back in Northern. So my brother did Auskick and I did Netta at that time, for netball. And then he did, Milo into cricket, and I did basketball. Like I did the girls sports at that time, I guess, the opportunity that we had for girls. And yeah, watched my brother play footy, but I was just like, that's never an option for me. And I think, just a side note, is probably the hardest part is that the Wheatbelt is the only region that still doesn't have a women's league, and that's something like I would love to see change, because every other country league does. And I think they're building on it now. So that was, I guess, the lack of opportunity to play footy for me. And then, moving to the hills, I continued just focusing on netball and karate until 2017, obviously AFLW started, and I, watched a season of that, and I was at a point with my netball, so I got to represent my state with netball as well as an underager. But then I got to the point where I was like, I'm still enjoying it, but I can't see the next level, and that's something I'm always thinking of. I'm like, how can I challenge myself to keep growing? And I just didn't see myself growing as much time as I put into it. So I saw the opportunity, and as I mentioned before, called up a couple of clubs, and I was like, oh, I can play footy. I don't know why I thought WAFL would be the first go. I don't think PFL had teams then, as well, so I wasn't a chance to play amateur footy. So I was like, oh, just have a crack at state league footy, and was lucky enough to be welcomed into Subiaco at that time. Yeah, as I mentioned, played netball and footy for a couple of years, dropped off karate at that stage. In 2020, I was just playing football, and loving my time, and really focused on developing myself. I took my game to another level, I think, from that point, when I got to just spend all my time focusing on footy.
It's so cool to hear this, isn't it? Because as you mentioned, the pathways now, they certainly weren't what they are now when people like yourself were growing up. And I don't know about you, but on my first day of Auskick, there was 100 kids and I was the only girl. And I sort of like didn't get laughed at, but a couple of the guys were like, what are you doing here? And then the next week they came back and a few of their sisters joined, just because it was like, oh, Bonnie's here trying to play football. Yeah. So it's the coolest thing to hear that instead of falling into the netball pathway, which I hate to say it, but gender stereotype ways and opportunity ways, like netball would have seemed like the natural progression to you. So to hear you opt for football, even without those structures, not only with the barriers for females, but even more so rurally, that's just so incredible. And it must just fill you with so much excitement with where the structures are at now. The National League having 10 years under its belt, how much excitement does it bring you to see young guns coming through, like, say, Juliet Kelly, who is only ever going to know incredible opportunities?
Yeah, it's so awesome, and I guess I'm lucky as well. I get to see our girls come through Claremont, but I've also been coaching for a fair bit as well, and get to see it all the way through. I even to the higher level, I saw Ella Roberts come through WAFLW. She won, or no, she didn't win best on ground. She probably should have in the 2020 grand final, and I was like, this 15-year-old kid is dominating. But she's played footy all the way through. Or I played with Charlie Thomas at Subiaco and watched her, and she's come from a junior footy club all the way through, and you can see it, and it's so natural for them. But it's so bloody exciting. I helping with the bridging program for that state 18s at the moment, and just the talent from the girls coming through. For me, I still haven't got a left foot kick, but they're practicing left foot, right foot on the run, and they're carving up. So it's really exciting. And as you said, there is pathways all the way through for the girls, and it's been there a long time. It just means like it's going to get better and better, and the conversation around boys and girls playing footy, I don't think it's going to become that. Hopefully it just becomes like everyone plays footy type thing, and we're getting there. So yeah, really exciting, and there's nothing more that I want than kids to take my spot coming through footy. Like, yeah, because they deserve it.
It shows, I guess, that there's still plenty of work to do, but in terms of funding and coverage and resourcing, we are starting to get the game to a point where we want it to, continue to grow and evolve over the next 5 to 10 years. And all through the future. Now, we probably do need to let you go. We've taken up a lot of your time while you're at work, which is something I'll ask you about in a second. But is the fire still burning to earn a second chance as even a train on an AFLW club, or are you happy just focusing on the three-peat next year?
I guess, and you probably learned quickly about me, but the next level is always something I'm hungry for. But I think, if any opportunity come my way, I would take it with both hands, and I'll still put my name out there and I'll still give 100%. But I think being honest to myself is the biggest thing, and I'll give 110% regardless. So if anyone's knocking, I'll say yes. But also, I'm pretty realistic at this point that I'm nearly 30, and it probably won't happen, which I'm also content with, because I get an opportunity to play with my best mates at Claremont, and hopefully challenge for the 3 in a row. So I'll never shut that door, but I will obviously just get a bit more realistic around where I am.
It's just exciting, and it speaks to the strength of the programs and the talent pool coming through, that there are so many young guns. Is there anyone you can give a bit of a pump up to? Anyone we should keep an eye out on as the next Ella Roberts or exciting young gun who could land on a list pretty soon?
Yeah, I guess I could rattle off for days, and it's obviously going to be my Claremont girls. But you mentioned obviously Juliet Kelly, and her and Ellie Gilby at the moment going through the process with the draft coming up. But I know lots of Claremont people pump up Juliet, but I hope that everyone else pumps her up too, because wow, she's a good kid. And I think that's the thing, as you start off with, is she's a good kid who can play elite football as well. She's the most well-rounded I think I've seen come through in terms of, and also talented at other sports, so represented Australia internationally and rowing. But I think what she gives week in, week out to the program, to her development, is second to none. And I guess the knocks on her have been that, from a speed perspective, but then she goes and, towels up Zippy Fish in a grand final type thing. So, JK is amazing. And then Gilby as well. So she, I guess, has speed for days, the complete opposite, and she's such an exciting talent. And even her personal development this year has taken to another level. Her commitment to getting the best out of herself has been huge. So I hope both those girls get a crack this year. And then I guess an overager for me is Jess Freem. So her development has been second to none. So she's only 19. But just her confidence in the back line has been really big this year. And then young guns have got 2 big ones in Hannah Seaborn and India Bonadeo coming through. So they've got, I think, India's draft year is next year and Hannah Seaborn the year after. And they're the epitome of the girls coming through the pathway of just natural footballers who are really exciting to watch. So I gave you 5. That's probably too many. And I could give more.
It speaks, like saying, to the talent pool. That's everything we want. So watch this space for sure, because who knows? They all could be the next Jayme Harken if they maybe buy a big enough trophy cabinet.
They want to be better than
Jayme,
that.
it has been unbelievable to talk to you. Never. You actually are at work, so we might need to let you go and fire a shot there. Before we let you go, is our very last question. Do you want to quickly tell us about your work with the state government and what you do during the week?
Yeah, so I work in state government. I'm a project coordinator for our Reconciliation Action Plan. So I'm really trying to make a difference in state government to make sure there are better outcomes for Aboriginal people, and that the engagement with Aboriginal people is, building, just like the women's space in footy. culturally for Aboriginal people. There's a long way to go, and just trying to make a bit of an impact on state government as much as I can. A small impact by implementing that plan across our department. So yeah, love what I do, and probably be here for a long time.
A small impact, state government, helping out with coaching as well, winning flags. I think your view of what you can do is distorted. So we are so privileged to have had an insight into all your successes under the many hats that you wear. And we cannot thank you enough for your time today on At the Top of Her Game.
Thanks so much, Bonnie. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of At the Top of Her Game. We'll catch you next time.